So
That looks really neat.
we are going to put in some purple glazes because glazes are sweet. And then for washes, we'll go over that in just a second with some of the armor pieces.
Give us before you get started or as you're mixing. Give everybody who may not know. Give them
A brief
the
primer.
quick overview of the contrasting washes and glazes.
Okay, so a glaze is used to tint color below whatever you're glazing over. And a wash is designed to put in dark lines for various areas on models that need them. It's basically one changes the color of something underneath. The other one is designed to do that, but also like flood an area with color so that it also like darkens the recesses.
Pools.
Yeah,
Right.
you want it to pool as opposed to glazes which you don't want to pool. So
Do we know what we're doing for the mix here?
this is just piggy purple, or not piggy purple. This is beaten purple.
So for easy remembrance, kind of like stalagmite, stalactite. Do you just remember pooling, no pooling?
Yeah.
For washes and glazes.
Pooling, no pooling. Wash, you want to pool. Glaze, you don't want to pool. So we're gonna start with this purple. Oh god! Oh man, I'm getting this all over myself.
Don't do that.
You're even wearing a Mompox shirt today.
Oh no.
That's the
Okay.
Brugrosh one.
It is, yeah. So we're gonna start in this like shoulder area here. This might actually be a little thick, but so now I'm gonna feather this out a little bit. But basically, I want to add a little bit of additional color. This is one of those things that's pretty subtle, so it might be pretty hard to see.
I think you
can
can see it
actually
on there. I can see it
pretty
on
well in there. But I'm basically adding warmth and color variation to the skin by using this glaze on it. And I can use a different glaze in the other shoulder to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. But I'm going to do a little bit down here as well.
And so all the way through from on every part of this glaze, you're able to see the original skin color.
Yeah, and
shining
you
through.
want to see the original skin color. You want to see the original shading. You just want this to change some of the color tones to what you've already painted.
And in case I missed it, we're getting asked for what you used for the mix.
This is just water plus beaten purple. Or are they talking about a different mix? Are you talking about the skin recipe altogether or just the glaze?
I believe they're talking about the glaze.
Yeah. So the glaze is just
But yeah, let us know,
color.
Chad, if that's not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is how. What would you say your ratio of paint to water is?
Like 20-1 in favor of water.
So like 20 parts water to 1 blip blop of paint.
Yeah, maybe like 10. It's like 10 to 20-1 depending on how watered down you want.
Do you have like a good? Is there anything you do usually? Like do you draw? Put some on your thumb, for example, to make sure that you kind of got it how you want it to be.
So I can usually tell by the consistency on the palette
Okay.
whether or not it's kind of to what I want. You definitely want it to like move around like a pool of water.
Is this like a melted ice cream kind of situation, or that's usually
No, melted ice cream is like the consistency that you want regular paint to be.
Gotcha.
Or like slightly more than
And
that.
for those who are confused, that's a very common trope that I've used in the years of trying to talk about paint.
Yeah.
Is about the consistency of melted ice cream.
But like this is, for those of you on the stream, this is the consistency and thickness. Or actually, I can use a piece of paper, which is probably better.
Preparing for camera nightmare, sir.
Camera nightmare.
Okay, we got it.
So this is,
It's almost like a watercolor.
yeah, basically. So that's a glaze.
Yeah, very translucent.
Yes. Because you want it to be translucent, otherwise
Yeah.
it's going to mess around with the opacity of the colors around it, right?
Yeah, I mean you can see on his thumb right there how it looks like a
Yeah.
big old tier.
So like
of
this
his
was
painting
too
schedule.
thick. So I
Yeah.
watered it down a little bit more and got
Gotcha.
it to somewhere around here.
Cool.
So I'll put a little bit here. I'm messing this up. Put a little bit there in the bottom.
And you have like, what are the kind of places you're trying to hit with this thing? Because it's obviously not just going to be all of the skin, right? You're not just
I mean, you can definitely use glazes over
slathering it.
an entire surface if you want. In this case particularly, I'm just looking to put color and warmth and life into the shadows. Because one of the things about that recipe that I'm using for the skin is it's pretty boring. There's not a whole lot going on there. It's just a skin tone color mixed with some yellow.
and then you kind of get on there and you move it around a little
gray.
bit with your other brush.
And I'm kind of cleaning it up, making sure it's not pooling anywhere.
It gives a lot of depth.
Yes,
Excuse me.
It definitely like gives a lot of life to what it is that you're.
A lot of definition in a way.
Because like you can see on
That's how
this
my
side,
abs look.
Purple? You have purple abs?
They're just
like
underneath
how much
the belly.
definition it adds to this side versus this side
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. That's what my abs look like underneath my my.
So let's,
Under-
let's,
under our
let's
guts.
do a wash.
Under my
next.
bagel- my
What's
bagel
a good
belly.
area that- let's do a wash on the back here.
Heck
which
yeah.
It's kind of hard to see, but and we'll do this with
Well, I got
some
some.
coal black.
Okay, and a wash is we want pooling this time.
Yeah, we
Yes.
want to heavily shade, as it were. Becky, who was our good friend from last week, asking about orange glow. This skin is awesome. I will use this when painting my blot thralls.
Blot thralls.
Pretty sure she meant bloat thralls. Yes, in fact, isn't using like purples very common for our Crix models?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you would be very on point with something very similar to our
So
studio scheme in that regard.
this is kind of the consistency that we're at for this.
So it's much heavier.
Yeah.
It is
So to get that
simultaneously
sheet of
more
paper-
watery, more wow.
There
help.
we go. So like that's the wash.
That's a lot more coverage, yeah.
So and that might be a little heavy, but it'll definitely work for right now.
Just slathering it on there, just getting all
Yeah.
up in that, really exploring the whole space.
Oh yeah. So in this,
And you can see like as it's already starting to dry.
it's pulling into those recesses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's leaving the top sort of still translucent. But this is a great example of like I'm going to do this to create this like natural shadow back here, and then I'll go back over it with some of the skin tone to kind of brighten up some highlights. Whereas on the front, I want this to tint the color because it's in shadow, but it's still being like hit with light. So this I want to be much darker back here.
Now, there's one thing that you were doing that I've never seen or thought of before is when you're doing a wash, you say you let it dry and then paint over it in the base color, but you were actually kind of like trying to remove some of it from the raised areas.
Right.
Is that a technique that you use?
So one of the things like, yes, when you lay down a wash, it's not always going to go into the exact places that you want it to. So using another brush to kind of guide it into the right position is something that's very useful to get the right type of effect that you want.
Becky comments that they haven't done glazes yet, and they're going to give it a go. Good. I'm glad that we're taking this painting adventure with Becky from week to week.
We got to see, Becky, you have to send us some pictures.
Yeah, definitely. Hashtag P3 Painters.
P3 Painters.
Yeah. And then my homie Huezator over in Twitch chat is: are you going to glaze the washed skin afterwards, or are you just going to kind of highlight over it? You think?
Just going to highlight over it.
Hammer hams.
So using this top area is a good example. You go back in here. I might actually mix some of the wash into the base coat that I'm putting in here.
Okay.
Just because I want it to have a similar kind of tone.
Oh, Riker's Iron actually has kind of his version of my melted ice cream. he says not skim milk, not 1% milk, somewhere between that. So kind of like that the texture and the consistency difference between skim and 1%. That's a good way of putting it too.
Yeah.
One's water. One's
Yeah,
white
yeah.
water.
You basically want the one that's water.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where you're at.